What's going on, guys? D-pad first. Welcome back to more of my thoughts. And in this video, yes, we are going to talk about the i9 7900X and just a general discussion with what Intel is doing with that whole platform in general. And I know some people are looking at the title and thinking, man, this guy is AMD fanboy confirmed. Yes, I recently did purchase a 1700X and some other parts, but I have always rolled with the Intel NVIDIA builds, and that's just what I've always done. So you can't say that. I'm telling you now, we can just get that out of the way. I am looking ahead to like the next at least 3 or 4 or 5 years, and I like what AMD is doing more. And I think competition is good. It's good for them. It's good for us. It's healthy for everyone. And it's something that we can't really complain about. So the price to performance, AMD is still killing this thing. Yes, you have what is a 10-core processor, and at some point you're going to have an 8-core that does match up with the 1700, 1700X, and the 1800X. I think the problem is, at least for some people, well, why not still Intel? Because more than likely for gaming, the per core performance is still going to be better on Intel. Yeah, I mean, if, 10 or 15 extra frames, maybe, a few more in some games is a big deal for you, then, you're probably going to want to spend that extra $2, $3, $4, $500 and go Intel. But you cannot deny, even if we just stick with the 1700, AMD is doing it better in terms of the value. There is no denying that. I mean, you can play games that, use 2 to 4 cores and still have plenty of cores left over to do all of your, all your background tasks or streaming if you do streaming on YouTube or Twitch or both. I mean, it's just completely ridiculous what you're getting for the money. If you look at streaming from the Intel standpoint right now, what they offer with like the 7700K or the 7600K, they just can't really keep up at all in terms of playing and streaming and other multitasking things at the same time. So could have definitely used a better term there, multitasking things at the same time. But you just have to appreciate what AMD is doing more right now. I'm not saying anyone should just completely dump their Intel systems, but I am saying definitely consider AMD when you start thinking about a new build, especially after like Threadripper comes out and we see how that is going to turn out. I mean, depending on the price with that, I mean, I think their top one is 16 cores, 32 threads, something like that, right? So depending on the price, if they can get that thing between, I think, maybe 7 and 850, something like that, they're really going to do some damage with that for those that would require, those that would actually need all of that extra power. And again, I understand some people will still bring up to me as well as others that Intel does still have better per core performance. And I understand that. If you are just gaming, if you are doing nothing else, just gaming, then you should consider the better i5 or the 1600 from AMD. You should not be considering, these 8-core, 10-core chips from Intel, and definitely not one of the Ryzen 7 chips. That's just my opinion. That's my take. If you are just gaming, but you still cannot deny the value of the Ryzen 7 chip. So, I mean, even if it was me and I was just gaming as a just in case type of measure, I would probably still want to get the Ryzen 7 chip. But if you know that you're not going to be doing anything else but gaming, just playing Overwatch, just playing Counter-Strike and Dota, and maybe a few very intensive single-player AAA games or something, then, stick with the 1600 or an i5 from Intel. See, again, no bias here. I'm just being honest about the value between what Intel is doing with the new chips and what AMD has with Ryzen 7. Even, again, if we start comparing Ryzen 7 chips to what they already have available with the 7700K and the 7600K, AMD still wins. There is no denying that. If we compare the 1600 to that with the i5, and then one of the Ryzen 7s to the 7700K. Yes, in some games you're going to get 10, 15, maybe 20 frames, depending on the game, better than you would with the Ryzen 7. But if you're still getting like 100, 110, 115 frames in some of those games with Ryzen 7, why would it really matter anyway? And this is while you're still streaming or doing other background tasks while playing those games. So, like, you can hold that performance, getting over 100 frames a second, and still be doing other things on the Ryzen 7. Now, again, if you're not just talking about only gaming, but you have to keep those things in mind when you start talking about value and which one offers more. So that's my take. That's my opinion. I'm not going to show you guys a bunch of numbers. There are a lot of great tech channels out there that do that. I don't claim to be some super awesome tech channel. I'm not one of those channels that have tech or review and a number of other things in my name. And I don't actually, I have more reviews than some of the people that have stuff like review in their name. It's pretty crazy. I know it's completely ridiculous that it is that way, but I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not calling anyone out. I'm just being honest. There's a lot of people with review and tech in their name, and they don't review tech. They don't really review much of anything, and they don't really show a lot of tech, to be completely honest. But again, there's just a lot of channels out there to go to for all of the numbers. They've crunched all that stuff. They've read into it and done a lot more research than I have. So that's where I'm going, kind of Ryzen for life as it stands. Not really for life. Again, there's no allegiance. I don't owe Intel and AMD anything. If Intel comes along and offers something equal to, the Ryzen 7 as where we would stand, a few years from now or something, and they start destroying AMD again, then I'll go that route. It's whatever is the best value, and that's what I'm looking at as a consumer. So thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. All the continued support, and take it easy. Peace.